like the character that Nick played in Spider-Verse is really fun and great, and I love him, but it's only on screen for a few minutes. It's not like a fleshed out thing. When you turn it into TV, it becomes its own beast. And what we're trying to do is make an old Bogart movie where Bogart just happens to be Spider-Man. Then once you start working with Nick has a sort of an encyclopedic knowledge of noir as well. So there were little like things that we took from classic noir, like moments from The Big Sleep, which was just incredibly fun. And then the other piece of the puzzle that was important for him was getting comfortable with TV. He's just very worried it would be like a sitcom. I think it was his son sat him down and made him watch Breaking Bad. And he was like, okay, I'm in.
Hello, and welcome to the Screenplayed Breakdown. Today, we're joined by Oren Uziel, the showrunner and creator of Prime Video and MGM Plus's Spider-Noir, starring Nicolas Cage. He's also the writer of 22 Jump Street, The Cloverfield Paradox, Mortal Kombat, The Lost City, as well as the Netflix thriller Shimmer Lake, which he directed. Thanks for joining us today, Oren.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Well, before we get deep into it, I would love if you could take us back to getting started or first developing, as maybe a younger kid or, sometime in your past, your like and for writing and movies and film. When did that kind of come to you?
I'm one of those kids that was always kind of in love with movies from a very young age. I think my mother took me to see History of the World Part 1 in the movie theater. I must have been like 5 years old or something. And it was completely obviously inappropriate, and I loved it. And that's sort of who my mother was. So it was growing up with her coming back from the video store with like the strangest combination of movies that she'd rent. So I was kind of one of those like high-low cinephiles. I mean, I don't even like that term very much, but the first two movies I ever bought, I went to the store and I bought Miller's Crossing and Weekend at Bernie's.
That's a good double feature.
That's my taste right there.
Yeah.
And so then I always loved movies. I liked writing, and then I was also a coward. So I remember I didn't think of myself as someone who was going to be able to be in the movie business. And I went to Northwestern, and I remember being really jealous of the kids that were radio, television, and film when I was like a freshman or like a sophomore. And I was mad that I had missed my chance to do that as a career.
Yeah.
Even though I was like 18. So I was a psych major. I did research on suicide at a hospital in Chicago afterwards. And I started writing then, and I wrote a book that I think maybe my sister has read and maybe no one else. And I still didn't know what to do with it. I didn't really know how to write yet. I didn't have the sort of courage. And I ended up, both my roommates at the time were applying to law school. Mm-hmm. So I took the easy way out, took the LSAT, went to law school, got myself like a solid, $150,000, $200,000 in debt. Got a job at a law firm in the city in New York, and just grinded it out for a few years. I was absolutely a terrible attorney. I just had no aptitude for it whatsoever. But I earned enough money to kind of break even, and right at the tail end of it, I started writing again. Mm-hmm. And I wrote another novel because at the time I thought, everyone's got a screenplay. It must be impossible to break in that way. But I could be like Tom Perrotta or Nick Hornby, and I'd write a novel because my writing style was always very kind of colloquial and accessible. And so I wrote another novel. I got a lit agent off of that book. So I made progress, but it was really like progress in the wrong direction. And I remember sort of arguing with her about how to sell this book, which was like kind of about a guy having an existential crisis. And she wanted me to like sex it up to try and sell it. And I was like, this doesn't make any ounce of sense. And I wrote a screenplay finally, and I entered it in the Austin Film Festival screenwriting competition. Mm-hmm. And I just mailed it off. And I remember they called me and they said, you're a second rounder. You should come to Austin and like come to the weekend. We have like a festival. I said, I'm not doing that. Like, this is obviously a scam. And then they called and they're like, you're a quarterfinalist. You should come to Austin. I said, this is obviously a scam. Like, stop calling me.
Absolutely.
And then once I hit finalist, I was like, please stop calling. And they were like, we will fly you down here and put you up in a hotel.
That's a good scam.
Yeah. I was like, oh, this isn't a scam at all. You guys are legit. And so I flew down to Austin in 2008, and ended up winning an award there. and that kind of got me started in the business. But the passion for it was sort of there from like a little kid.
Right. And I mean, going back, I think you might be the only person to take the LSAT as the easy choice. But
just hiding from reality. Going back to school again with no intention of actually being a lawyer. That's the easy choice.
I think that's something everybody comes up against, the kind of the fear of taking those kind of first steps. But what that first script in 2008, was that ever turned into anything fully produced or?
Yep. So that was called Shimmer Lake, and it won an award. And then I ended up directing it, I would say like 6-7 years later. It got optioned. So it got me an agent and a manager, and it got optioned by Fox Atomic, which went out of business before I think the check even cleared for my rewrite. And then it kind of kicked around. Big Fox had it for a little bit. And then a producer, I kept writing after that. And I wrote a script called Kitchen Sink. And that got picked up by Sony. Matt Tomac was the producer on that. And Amy Pascal was still at the studio running things. And while we were making that movie, Matt read Shimmer Lake and he optioned it. And I remember it was like back in the days when producers still had some kind of development funds and money they had to spend at the end of the year or else they would lose it. And he optioned it for a nice fee. And I remember saying to him, like, you can have it, but if you don't make it, I really want you to give it back. Because by the time the first option runs out, I think I could probably direct it.
Right.
And he was true to his word. So it's a small movie. So it was always going to be hard for a studio to make. So he couldn't really get anything going with it, gave it back to me. And then I found independent financing and I directed it.
That's great. And what made you feel more confident as the years passed to be able to direct it on your own?
The friendly version. I mean, this is for directors as well as screenwriters, but mostly screenwriters, right?
All filmmakers.
All filmmakers. Okay. Then I'll be nice. Being on set and just demystifying the whole process and realizing you don't have to be like Michael Bay and want to be like holding a skateboard and like riding with a Steadicam in your hand and like knowing it. There are department heads that are there to be the experts in every single area of filmmaking, and it's your job just to make decisions and know what you want to do. And making decisions and knowing what I want is not a problem for me. But I didn't go to film school, so when you don't go to film school and you're coming in cold, it feels like there's a technical expertise that's required that I realize is not.
Right. You feel that there's something other people know. And so looking back on it, would you have wished you had gone to film school? Or do you think, oh, no? No,
I mean, that's not true.
We're not sponsored by a film school or anything.
No, I mean, film school would have been a hell of a better choice than law school. I can tell you that. But I think this is the kind of thing that you learn by doing. And I think my impression of film school is the best thing you get out of it is your cohort that you kind of go to school with and your peers, and making friends with people that have similar passion and getting a chance to make short films together and like learn everything together. And, but no, it's almost a point of pride that I didn't go to film school.
Well, that's very interesting. I mean, it clearly worked out. So people always talk about the different routes, that it never needs to be one thing. And I think if anything we've heard on this show is that every person has a wildly different story, and it doesn't even neatly fit into film school or not. People end up in the strangest places and find their way back. Yeah.
There's no one way to do this.
Now that you've had multiple projects on your belt, how did this exact project come to you? Did you seek it out, or what was the process for finding yourself running Spider-Noir?
So for this one, it starts probably with Kitchen Sink, because Amy Pascal is still running Sony. So I've worked with her before, and I've worked with her a bunch over the years.
Right.
And after Kitchen Sink, so she knew Kitchen Sink, and Sony was familiar with me. And at the time they put me on, I'm going way back, they put me on a Men in Black project with Walter Parks.
Oh, nice.
And I was working on what was eventually would become Men in Black 4, but it really has nothing to do with what I was working on.
Okay.
But while we were trying to get that thing going, Phil and Chris were in the process of finishing Lego and wanting to direct 22 Jump Street.
Right.
And so they came to me for the rewrite job on that one. And I remember I pitched Phil and Chris. They were like eating lunch in Australia. Like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And I basically just, I had no thoughts on what specifically to do with the script, but more just what I loved about the first movie and what I thought the second one should be like, sort of emotionally. And then it turned out that those were the exact kind of filmmakers to hear that pitch, because that's sort of their language as well. And so I wrote 22 Jump Street and got to know them. And then I've worked with them a bunch since then. So 2022, I think, they came to me because after the Spider-Verse, one of the characters that really popped off that movie was Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah.
And so people loved him. And they knew that I love noir. So they had come to me to talk about working on Spider-Verse before. And I really, I love Spider-Man, but I was like, I'm not a big animation guy. I've never done it before. And I was like, I don't know, like, I don't relate to a high school kid that much anymore.
Yeah.
But when they came to me with this, and it was noir, which I love, it was set in New York. And then after talking about it, I realized, because at first I thought it was animation. I thought it was like kind of a courtesy call. They're like, oh, it's live action.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let me think about this. And then I came back to them and I said, you know, what if we make the Spider-Man character older? And then I have like, basically like, I mean, not all good stories, but a lot of them, I can infuse that character with a little bit of my journey and like how I felt about kind of being a screenwriter and the way I felt coming in when I was much younger and kind of wide-eyed and full of energy and convinced that I was like the hero that's going to save cinema. You know, I mean, it's a little grandiose, but I was feeling very confident. And then you do the job and you get kicked in the face over and over again. And there's a certain type of person that I think that just kind of keeps coming, Terminator style. Yeah. Like, it's just, I don't mind all those punches because this is what I love doing. So I kind of infused a Spider-Man story about an older guy who's kind of been kicked in the face and knocked down a lot as Spider-Man, is maybe outwardly seeming cynical and over it, but deep down knows they're going to come right back to it because it's what they want to do.
And you absolutely get that impression from Ben Reilly in the show that, and other characters have, mentioned it, do the show, but, or, it's kind of like they, just when I thought I was out, they dragged me back in, but he's smiling all the way he's getting dragged back in. And he does have a love for it throughout the show. Yeah.
Like it's like, that line Casablanca we talked a lot about with, the Rick character, that he's just like, I don't stick my neck out for anybody, but he
and continues to stick his neck out for any person in the movie. And speaking of Casablanca, what films, as a noir fan yourself, do you have, I presume a list of favorite noirs that you were trying to think about while making this, or work in references or blend characters from?
There are so many references visually that we, took stills from and coated the production office walls with. And then story-wise, I've seen, it's almost impossible to see all of them, but I've seen, I feel like hundreds of them, and you absorb them. So there's like a macro kind of vibe feeling about how noirs work, and how it might work when combining the superhero world and the noir world. But, and then as over the course of making the show, Casablanca came up with the Rick character, LA Confidential, what is his name? I just forgot.
Was that Confidential Report or LA Confidential?
LA Confidential.
Pierce Pratchett, I think that's the
character. Wait, sorry. What is the Russell Crowe? So the Russell Crowe character was someone that I worked with Jack Houston, sort of modeled that character a little bit after. The Ben Reilly character has a bit of Gabriel Byrne from Miller's Crossing. There's certainly some Chinatown in there. We've referenced Lady from Shanghai a lot.
Oh, nice.
Also, like their Third Man, In a Lonely Place, Night of the Hunter. But there's so many. But and then once you start working with Nick has a sort of an encyclopedic knowledge of noir as well. So there were little like things that we took from classic noir that if you know them and you've seen them, you'll recognize them kind of right away, like moments from The Big Sleep, or like he'll be doing a Peter Lorre thing, which was just incredibly fun because we kind of went back and forth about like, what about this thing? Or have you seen this thing? And Nick knows his stuff. So it's infused with, there's probably 50, 60 different little pieces from a bunch of movies in there.
And it feels like kind of kids in a sandbox. You both have like, and you know, all these toys, all these references and movies you love, and in a medium that you don't get to. I mean, what other movies are making full black and white, genuinely pretty much realistic noir, with the exception of, you know, technology behind the camera. I mean, this could have been dropped back, and it's kind of a very, very special thing to actually see it all the way through. It's not just like a gimmick for like one kind of alternate universe episode. It's fully just a noir show.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing about getting to do it in TV. Like the character that Nick played in Spider-Verse is really fun and great, and I love him, but it's only on screen for a few minutes. It's not like a fully fleshed out thing. When you turn it into TV, it becomes its own beast. And then it's like, it also, you so rarely get to do this, especially in the noir space, but that's part of the beauty of getting the Spider-Man part, the superhero, and all that Marvel canon to kind of, then you can, when you want your classic noir characters, you can grab someone from the Marvel canon and piece them in. And it really was very chocolate and peanut buttery. Like it just, they're two different things that combine perfectly. And one of the things we talked about a lot on set was like, what we're trying to do is make an old Bogart movie where Bogart just happens to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And like, that's your way to make it fresh. So it's not just pastiche. You're not just like, we'll just do the same scene, but with modern technology and cameras. It's like, there's a different angle on every version of the thing that we love from before.
Yeah.
And so you're creating a very classic noir, but not, you know, it's not repetitive. It's not redundant.
And what is it that you like the most about noir?
It's so hard for me to say, to put my finger on it. The real answer is there's something about the cynicism and the hopelessness and the knowledge like this, that this character, whoever it is facing forces that they can't defeat and they can't even really fully understand. Something about watching those stories puts me in a great mood. Like it does not, they're not feel bad things. You know, there's always kind of like a wink and a nod and a twinkle in the eye of like the private detective. Like, you know, life isn't great, but it's still pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then there's ones that are more overtly comic. Like I love His Girl Friday and like that sort of that screwball comedy banter back and forth from some of these movies that I think we were writing towards to be kind of give you that same feeling. And The Thin Man is like a perfect example too. And that's another big reference. Like it's a detective trying to solve a crime, but when someone breaks into him and his wife's room at 3 a.m. and tries to shoot him, once he gets the gun away, it's like, let's have a cocktail. You know, it's like, it's just, it's its own weird world. And like, they're just, a lot of them are incredibly well made kind of B movies. So it's always a good time.
Yeah. And that's, no, I mean, there's so many great references, and I think it's, you do feel the optimism. It's, you know, life is bad, and the private detective always has like $3 and like a nickel in his pocket, and the ceiling's leaking, but they're always happy to fight back against this kind of insurmountable force each day. They're in it for the love of the game. They just love to do what they do. Yeah.
And it's something I said on the show too. Like at the end of the season, when you're doing a private detective thing, it's like the next case is just whoever knocks on the door next is going to have just an entire different universe of problems and mysteries to solve, you know?
And they're lying about something, and they're
lying about something. There's definitely more danger than they're letting on. You know, it's so fun.
It's just a simple take these photos and bring them back. It's nothing. You don't need to worry.
Yeah. And I'm sure these two things are completely unrelated and not going to come together at some point, you know, in the second act.
No, and I love to see it. It's kind of the best parts about genre is knowing exactly kind of what to expect, that, you see two people walk in 5 minutes apart from each other and the cases aren't related, but in the back of your mind, because you've seen how many different noir movies, you're like, well, these are going to be related. And it's kind of the wink that I think you are giving to the audience of like, they're related. We're not saying they are, but kind of keep looking for how they're going to eventually come in. And that's the fun of working in an established genre.
Yeah, it's so fun. And then knowing those things, but then it's like, it's all about how to tell that story in a way that still feels surprising but inevitable. Mm-hmm. And with that, it's like that's kind of the magic of having the Spider-Man part to play with. It's if I'm stuck hiding in a closet, I need to make sure the door doesn't open. Like there's the way Bogart would have solved that problem, and there's the way Spider-Man would have solved that problem.
Right. Yeah, it's very unique to see those classic examples of a guy stuck in a closet, or someone's creeping up behind him. Okay, well, Bogart would have a snappy one-liner, or kind of talk his way out of it. Spider-Man, he can climb on the ceiling. So
exactly.
There's kind of different subversions to take the same kind of formula or the setup.
Yes. Yeah.
And now going back to probably, I guess, Spider himself. It's my understanding that Nick was part of the Spider-Verse, but that wasn't obviously intended to develop into a full series. So how did he come to actually take on this live action role different from just the kind of animated cameo in those movies? Yeah,
well, it's I guess it's a sort of unique. There might be other examples I'm not thinking of, but he was familiar with the role. And so he already yeah. I mean, he played it. I'm saying he was familiar with the character already.
Sorry. I thought he was like this childhood Spider-Noir fan.
No, but he loves comic books, right? Sort of famously. But because of that, and because of what I wanted to do with the character, he was the first person. Like Amy Pascal called me and she said, "Who are you thinking?" And I said, "Nick." She said, "Great, perfect." Mm-hmm. And then I think within sort of, I talked about it with Phil and Chris, and then probably within 3 or 4 days, we were sitting down having lunch in LA, and it was that conversation. I think he was feeling me out much more than I was feeling him out. I mean, I know who he is and what he can do, but he just wanted to, we started talking about the character, about noir, about what the reference would be, about what I wanted to do. And he just got more and more excited as kind of lunch went on. And then the other part, the piece of the puzzle that was important for him was getting comfortable with TV, because he's been doing this for decades, and he's a movie guy, and he's just never, he's like, it's not, he's just very, very worried it would be like a sitcom for some reason. Yeah. And I was like, this is going to be a really different thing. Like it's a little cliche to say it's just a long movie, but I'd never written TV before. So that's my background is features, and my background is in noir and Spider-Man. It was like, we're going to try and make essentially 8 episodes that break down into a few of the first act, a bunch of the second act, and then here's the third act. It's going to feel like a movie. We're going to light it like a movie. We're going to treat it, we're not going to cover it. We're going to cover it as much like a movie as we can. Right. And I think it was his son sat him down and made him watch Breaking Bad. And he was like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah, that's a good reference for the quality TVs can hit.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Did he have, being a massive comic book fan and coming into this new world, did he bring any ideas to the table on a way to take the character or even the show in some way?
Yeah, he brought ideas. I mean, he's an artist, and I'm trying to avoid saying the word genius because I kind of hate it, but he just has he's very smart, and he never wants to do the same thing twice. And this, Spider-Man, we've seen, 3 different iterations in the movies over the past 30 years with Tobey Maguire and now Tom Holland. And he doesn't want to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about what his character could be and would be, and what kind of story we were telling, in the noir space, what things we were referencing. And over time, we kind of developed this idea that when what happened to him that made him become the Spider,
right? He
really became more Spider than man, really. And that when he was trying to learn how to reintegrate in society. It was about retraining his spider body to kind of behave more like a human being.
Yeah.
And it really informed so many things about his character and made it, I mean, both unique and I think kind of great. And that's something that I think if I was working with a different actor, I'm not sure we would have gotten to that same place.
That's a very interesting point, because that is something that, without saying what it goes into exactly, stood out for me a lot watching the show, that you have in many other noir films, a detective who's kind of a different person from society. They're kind of off to the margins, and that's usually emotional or self-inflicted, some kind of past trauma. And while there's personal reasons for Ben Reilly to be who he is, it is also, in the way that you were saying earlier, kind of giving the Spider-Man flavor on top of just a regular noir formula. It's a literal and physical alienation for him. It's not just like, oh, I got my heart broken in 36. It's
yes,
I actually have. He's learning literally to become human again, which is, I think, as you pointed out, something you only can get from the merging of classic noir genre, but with a great actor and the Spider-Man kind of mythology on top of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's if you're given this opportunity with all this stuff to play with, it's like your obligation to kind of maximize it. And that's exactly right. It's like, how do we make both these things essential to this story? Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned a second ago about approaching this television show from the perspective of both Nick as a film actor, yourself as a film writer. Were there difficulties in breaking down the traditional 3 acts, as you just said, into 8 episodes and having smaller 3 acts for each episode, building again to having to do basically 8 times the work that you would normally have to think about?
There's enormous challenges with doing this. And when I came on to do it, I had never done TV before. I had, 16, 17 years of movie experience, but they partnered me with a co-showrunner, Steve Lightfoot,
right,
who has made a million shows. He's extremely knowledgeable, and he was really helpful. And just when we were in the writer's room, one of the best parts about working together is he kind of understood, when you're telling a story like this, you have to have, it's not like one voice, it's a super collaborative effort, but that I had an idea of what I was trying to do. And he really helped. Like when we were breaking stories, I remember just being like, where are we at? Like, is this an episode?
Right.
How much stuff is here? And it's like, well, where are we drawing our lines when we're breaking this thing up? And so he was really helpful. But then also I just think I have, from movies, you just develop a sense of the rhythm of these things.
Right.
And it's a little bit like you said, like the whole 8 episodes combines to have a bit of a 3-act structure. Each individual episode has to have a bit of an act structure. But even when you're writing individual scenes, they have to have almost an act structure. Like they have to, a well-written scene always has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and like has a point. So it was just piling up, I'm a big believer in like the adage that a movie is, like, I forget what it's like, 3 great scenes and no bad ones.
Yeah.
And it's just every scene trying to make that scene be a great scene.
Yeah.
And I think if you pile them up and you have characters that are developing over time, you're gonna figure it out. Like the structure stuff and how to know when things are happening and kind of comes naturally. I think you just develop a kind of a feeling for it.
And that's very interesting to me. We've had other writers kind of express a similar notion that for the most part, they maybe don't think about structure formally, listing it out with books Save the Cat or the hero's journey. They were instead kind of just get a sense for when it works and it doesn't. Just personal taste that I think anyone could really recognize. Is it something? Do you also bring in formal structure to like jot down your ideas and try to make sense of them, or do you kind of write into the void and just kind of feel and push your way through each episode, each scene?
I'm very in the middle. If I was writing a spec, I might write into the void, but certainly on this or an assignment, or I'm usually will start to apply some structure to it. But I never read Save the Cat or The Hero's Journey. Those things scared me actually in the beginning. I didn't want to. It felt like it would get in my head and I'd start writing towards that instead of writing towards character.
Right.
But there, Dan Harmon, who made Community and Rick and Morty and makes the best stuff. Like, he's incredibly devoted to the story circle, I think he calls it. And it's just like, he is incredibly rigorous about that structure. So it's just like breaking into the business, that there's no one way to do it. But for me, it was a feeling, and it was grow up, watch 2,000 movies and then start reading screenplays. And you just start to get a sense of like, things gotta happen. If nothing's happening, if we're ever treading water, something's gone wrong with the writing.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that a lot of, in just personal discussions, people have mentioned is that, these structures, they're great guides for what can be done. But at the same time, I think anybody who is reading a script you'll get to a scene that doesn't work and you go, oh, this doesn't work. You don't really need to put a finger on it, define it, say, oh, there's a positive value that's at the start, that it's also, you'll just read it and go, well, it's just not a good scene. You'll simply know. You'll
just simply know. It's one of those things that I want to say this respectfully to development executives, but like, you'll know whether you're like the development executive at the studio or a production company, or if you're my dentist or my friend, like boring is boring and funny is funny. Like you don't need a degree for that. You just need to be an attentive reader or attentive writer. And you just also have to be honest with yourself. One thing I thought when I was going from features to write a TV show is I thought, I'm going to have so much more space. I can really like let scenes linger and go on. And, instead I don't have to get in so late and get out so early. And it wasn't true at all. My episodes tended to be kind of short because I don't want to sit there meandering. Like, let's go, we're telling a story. Let's go.
And is that something, I guess, your co-showrunner brought on, the ability to say, oh, it doesn't have to, you kind of lengthen it out to be the full episode? Were you just writing shorter than the 40 minutes?
I think there was a tension there where I think he wasn't used to how I write from Feature World. And it was almost like we have more space. I was like, I don't think we do. We got to move,
Yeah, it's an interesting balance. And the show comes across it. Well, at least it moves. I can tell you that. So
that's good.
But looking back on the 2000 movies and how much time you've spent developing your own thoughts or speaking with other people, is there perhaps a person or maybe a movie or book that you read that really challenged you to think about your own writing, that opened up your mind to things that could be differently? To give an example, for me, the start of Magnolia, where I was like 15 minutes, I was like, what is this movie like gonna be about? And I realized that, I thought first 5 minutes, it needs to be very clear. Jurassic Park, you're like, okay, dinosaurs are going to get out. I know what I'm mentally picturing.
Right.
But with Magnolia, I was like, dude, I haven't a clue. These guys don't even show up again. I was like, and then I realized there can be themes that they're working in. So that, for me, watching it years ago, I was like, oh, wow, there's more going on than just direct plot. There can be bigger things that aren't clear at the start. Was there any book or person that gave you a film advice like that, or some kind of realization?
It's funny, a bunch come to mind for like realizations. I mean, Nick Hornby, reading him was the first time I thought, I could be a writer, because he has a way of getting complicated and really thoughtful ideas out in a very straightforward manner, and it's very conversational. And I've always been someone like I write a little bit like I speak, and voice is very important to me as a writer. So there's Hornby, and then when I started to watch the movies of the Coen brothers,
right,
and realizing how much play there could be. And then Charlie Kaufman, like adaptation, being John Malkovich, like you really like adaptation. I would go back to because it's an amazing movie because you're watching it and it theoretically breaks all the rules, but it's just a really tight 3-act structure buried inside there. And I'm like, you can do a lot, And then someone that works with Phil and Chris a lot, I also comes to mind because they work with Lindsay Duran over and over again. And she's she's been in the business forever, and she's now a script whisperer, I guess. She gets paid by the studios a lot to come on and consult. She doesn't she just kind of I worked with her on 22 Jump Street, and we just talked a lot, and we talked about like Annie Hall, and romantic comedies, and like we just sort of, she's helped me to see like that's what I'm trying to do with 22 Jump Street. This like action comedy with these two guys, like it's really just a romantic comedy, and it's really just a relationship story. And like what cracked that was a couple of weeks of conversation with her and realizing it's just a 7-year itch story.
Oh, interesting. I'd never, because I mean, I think 22 Jump Street is a very funny, very engaging movie, but watching it, it doesn't come to mind and go, oh, this is Annie Hall. But when you break it down like that, you know, a relationship between the two guys, that's very interesting. I guess the subtext going on or what you're not really looking at. Yeah.
I mean, and it's, you know, that's what happened with that movie, I think, is at first, the first one was so funny and such a hit, and there's a temptation, I think, with sequels. It's like, well, it's just going to be really funny again. But the guys were like a little mean to each other. Like they weren't, the love that you felt that they had between each other in the first one wasn't there anymore.
Right.
And it was important to me when writing it with them and for them, like, these guys are the best. We want to hang out with Jonah and Channing, and like that's such a good time. But if you're writing that, and like, what if Channing is sort of feeling like maybe Jonah's the wrong guy for him, the wrong partner, right?
Right.
It's like that's where the conflict lies, and it's not about like catching the drug dealer. Like that's going to happen. You'll hit your beats, you know.
Yeah.
But the reason we love those movies, and the reason we love movies in general, is always the relationship, and that's a thing that like Amy Pascal is always going to tell you, Lindsay Duran's always going to tell you, Phil Chris is always going to tell you. Like, I think all the people that are really great at this, it's like the jokes will come, the action will come, but if there's nothing to glue it to in terms of characters and relationships, it doesn't work.
That's well, and speaking of relationships, I would love, with just a couple minutes left, to talk about spoilers for the show and get into the real relationships, because first off, for those who have not seen the show, please stop now. We'll be discussing full 8 episodes. Go watch it. Amazon Prime and MGM Plus, and then come back. But what you pointed out about the relationships being the most important, you know, it's a noir. But I think that's one of the things that is kind of a staple of noir. You think it's, you know, oh, okay, we got to get this briefcase back. Oh, you know, the dame's gone missing. And then you find out it's so much more. What was the about the characters and the people behind them looking for that suitcase? What were the relationships that drew you into this show?
There's like a bunch of different triangles. I mean, you know, it starts in Ben's office, I think, with Janet, his secretary, and Robbie, his kind of best friend. And you know, we don't know this until later in the show, but they both know that he's the spider. He's told Janet repeatedly when he's drunk, but never remembers. But that relationship and how much they love each other, and Janet and Robbie in particular love Ben and just don't like where he's at the start of the show. And it's disappointing. It's just hard. When you have a friend who's not living up to their potential, it's a strain on your relationship, and it sucks, but like, you're not going to abandon them. So finding those actors to understand that like, you love this guy, but you're not going to take too much of his bullshit, because you got to give him some tough love to get him there. So that relationship, every time they're in the office hanging out, it's like, some of my favorite parts of the show, because they're so fun together.
Yeah.
And they give each other shit in the way that real friends do.
Yeah.
And then you've got this real relationship between the private detective and the femme fatale, and like, you know how that's going to go, but like, what's this particular flavor? And that's where I brought up Russell Crowe in LA Confidential, like Jack Houston's character, he's playing the Sandman. Yeah. But you know, when Kat comes into Ben's office, all she wants to do is cure Flint, you know, and so she can be with him. Yeah. And when things don't look good, she's able to sort of develop feelings for Ben, so that relationship becomes important. But like, when she eventually fucks him over, you know, if you've ever watched a noir, it's not the biggest surprise in the world, but you know, for me with these relationships, like, you want all their motivations to be clear no matter which side you're on there.
Yeah.
So like that was another really important triangle.
I think, and it was wonderful to see when you introduce so many disparate characters that are all connected to one person, but not connected to each other. I think the audience, and I did myself, had my fingers crossed throughout the show. It's like they've all got to get together in one big room. So that ending where they all come in, Robbie's dressed as the spider, Janet gets roped into it. Everybody's there. It was wonderful to see them play off each other in ways where they don't know exactly everything everybody else knows, but they're all working towards, as you're saying, very clear goals on their own. And it's fun seeing how the information exchange and these people who haven't met each other after 7 episodes apart in a lot of cases all come crashing into like one moment. It was a very exciting scene. The
most fun thing to write, and because there's also Silvermane and Kat and Flint is another triangle, because like Flint really wants to be loyal to both, but you can't. It doesn't work. Yeah. That scene was always where I was heading, and I knew it was going to be really long, and I knew that the studio and network were going to be like, this is way too much time in one place.
Yeah.
Just sitting here talking. They're just talking. But to their credit, once we got there and once they read it, they realized like it's just all tension from the second they get there, because everybody knows a secret about somebody else, and nobody is, they're all not quite ready to tell each other.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's wonderful. I mean, the spider can tell tell Silvermane that Kat was behind him, trying to knock him off, and then she can rat on him. And then, there's also the vials, but then Robbie's in a fake mask. It's like 5 different lies that people are all operating to get different things across each other. It is kind of endless drama, because any one of those threads could make a scene, but then you web them. But it's really excellent. But now that we unfortunately only have just a couple minutes left, I would just love to ask if you could go back to yourself at some younger age and find younger Oren and give him a piece of advice that you wish maybe you could have known, what would you say?
This is the easiest thing in the world. Don't go to law school. It would be to not feel, to know that the things that opened the door for me later in life would have opened the door for me earlier in life. And just, if there's something that you really want to do, just take the time to go after it as hard as you can. Because if you haven't done that, you'll never sort of be satisfied. So it's just be braver younger.
Be braver younger.
Yeah. Be braver while you still have hair.
Well, that's great. Well, one final thing, as the news is kind of ramping up, what are your thoughts or possible visions for AI in the future in terms of writing? Do you think that'll affect the screenwriter's working relationship, or kind of viewing it as a tool, or something that you think is a solely human endeavor?
I mean, one never knows when the Terminator is coming for us. I think I'm optimistic that it's going to be slower than Silicon Valley kind of hopes it would be.
Yeah.
Looking at what the output is now, it's trash. And I don't use it as a tool. I know some writers do, and I think that's fine if you're using it, just to look things up or whatever. Yeah. But I think writing is going to survive longer than any of the other pieces of this, I think, because it's so infused with the human voice, and it always needs to subvert expectations. And so I don't know, I'm optimistic.
Well, I think that's something that comes across in the show, the relentless odds and, maybe a darker world or something that people are battling against. But like the spider in the show and many heroes in noir films, there's always a twinkle in the eye and like working towards a brighter day. So thank you very, very much, Oren, for coming on the show. We really appreciate you having here and for taking a moment to talk to us about Spider-Noir. Thank you.
Thank you. This was fun.